Are you ready to unleash your inner badass, take charge of your service based business, and conquer personal growth? Look no further than the Badass Inner Circle, the exclusive close knit community for service based women entrepreneurs who are authentic AF and unapologetic about it. Enrollment begins on February 1st, 2024. Be sure to click the link in the show notes to join the wait list. Welcome to the Ladies Kickin' Ass podcast, where we help you ignite your inner badass and create the service business of your dreams. I'm your host, Tanya Wilson, and together we'll dive into inspiring stories and expert coaching to set your journey on fire. Hey ladies, welcome to another episode of Ladies Kickin' Ass. Today we have a fantastic guest joining us, and I know that today's conversation is going to hit a lot of you in maybe a lot of different ways. So I am super excited, and I hope you'll stay with us all the way through the end, because this is going to be an incredible conversation about the power of personal development and the power of having a personal coach, a business coach, sometimes several different coaches. You hear me talk about it all the time on the podcast. What a difference in my life a coach has been to me. Y'all have learned and met my first business coach, Jeff Heggie, who was an incredible inspiration to me and continues to be a great mentor and friend. But I want to introduce you to a coach that I'm working with right now. Her name is Mary Lynn Graham, and she is a professional results coach. And she is just not only an incredible woman and human being that is so humbled to share all of her amazing journeys that she's had as an entrepreneur, but also the personal journeys that she's been through too. So I know today is just going to be full of so much wisdom. So Mary Lynn, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Why don't you go ahead and give us a little bit of your backstory and why you choose to do what you do and why you love it?
Okay. Well, you said to share a little bit about me, not what I do.
Yeah.
I am a mama and I am a grandma. Both of my parents were college professors and taught biology in a small little town in Virginia. And I avoided the sciences. I wasn't going to go there, but I ended up kind of in my first life being an audiologist, which, lo and behold, is science-based. And but the biggest part of what I did then and the biggest part of what I do now that totally inspires me and juices me is I helped people. I think I discovered along life's journey that I love people. And one of the things that makes me happier than anything is watching somebody else grow and somebody else achieve their successes in life. So that was a really quick Reader's Digest start to where I am now.
Well, you're very good at that because I've had personal experience with that with you. And you can tell that it really is a heart game for you. And I think when people are really good coaches, it really does come from the heart, because really great coaches, and I've had several, really will share personal stories. They will share where they've been. You can connect with them on a level that's not like, I'm just paying you to help me with my problems, but it's that you form a relationship with this person. You're really doing life with this person, and it is a partnership. To be real honest with you, you and I have much more candid and personal conversations than I have with my husband most of the time. So I think that you have to, that's one of the biggest things that I would say, just starting off when we're talking about hiring a coach or looking for one, is find one that you connect with. And I think that's something that you and I connected really, really well very first off with that. And that's why this relationship has continued for years now, is because we continue to be able to draw, from each other, and you've just provided so much value to my life. So with the coaches that you've worked with in the past, what are things that if someone is considering hiring a coach that you would advise them to look for, to feelings to have? Like, what is your filter you run through when people are considering hiring a coach?
Well, I think you want to start out with what it is that you're wanting to achieve, what you're wanting to pursue. Obviously, I'm pro Tony Robbins coach, which is what I am, because our focus is primarily on what's up here. Like, 80% of our success in anything is mindset. That's why he is able to affect people from all walks of life, whether they be, a professional golfer, a tennis player, president of the United States, a CEO of a very large company. So from that perspective, if you're strictly looking for a consultant, business wise, that's a little bit different than a coach or a results coach, which is what I am. The other thing is, I think it's really important that you connect with that person, that you feel, comfortable enough that you can be transparent. You don't want to be coaching with somebody where you feel like you need to mince your words or you need to hide something. You and I have had some real candid discussions, and I've sensed that you feel that way with me. And sure. I feel that way with my coach too. When you're in the business world, obviously you need to be strong. You need to make often difficult decisions. You need to move forward sometimes when you don't feel like moving forward. But you want a place in your coach where you can cry if you need to, and you can say, "Hey, I'm faltering. I'm struggling in this area." And I do that with my coach, because then I'm turning around and coaching somebody else. I want to be coming from a very real place. So you need somebody that you feel that way with, that you can just let it all hang out, so to speak.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And on the flip side of that too, I'd love to get your perspective of if someone is interested in becoming a coach, or somebody thinks that this might be a life path for them, what were questions that you asked yourself, or things that you thought about, or maybe a process you went through to determine whether or not you were ready or that you wanted to truly coach people? Like, what does that take to be a coach?
Well, I think it was an evolution. I thought at one point that I wanted to be a counselor. As a matter of fact, in college, I think I had enough courses that I could have had a minor in psychology, but I didn't go that way. My evolution to determining that I wanted to be a coach was from having a coach. When I made the decision to sell my business, my feeling was like I was putting my child on the market or something. It was extremely difficult. And that's when I hired a coach. And it was through that experience of her helping me through that transition, from making the decision to actually selling it to, okay, what am I going to do now? I was so impressed with how she supported me through that transition that I said, oh my gosh, that is what I want to do next. So my encouragement would be, if you're thinking about being a coach, get a coach and experience being a coachee, so to speak. Because that is exactly where, I came from. And when I interviewed for my current role, one of the first questions was, have you ever been a client? Because it's valuable to have seen it from both sides.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think many times when you are the student, you realize not only is that research that you can do if you're considering being a coach. Like, I love the format in the way that we do things. It's very consistent. There's things that you can count on every single time when we meet, which has been a long standing almost every Monday. It's like a great way for me to start my week. We go through what the goals are for the week. I plug all that stuff in, and I start my week off. So if it's something, especially as entrepreneurs, I really want to drive this home. Many times we think, well, we're the one in charge. Why do we need to have a coach? Like, we're supposed to be the coaches to our teams, or maybe, even in your personal life, you wonder where that serves a place. It's accountability. And that's what I love about my coaching with you, is the accountability that is there for me every single Monday. One, to complete the form that you send out, which is accountability of like, what are you working on this week? What are we going to discuss? And you lead where the conversation is going, but there is that accountability, especially if you're a business owner, that you need to have. Your employees, you're accountable to them, but they're not going to really get on you or encourage you or even lead you in a direction that you need to have as that owner of the business. So that's been a huge thing for me, is the accountability. Huge. Do you find that with yourself, with the coach, that it's the accountability factor for you too?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've joked with you before, like, oh my goodness, Tanya, you got your form in like half an hour early today, just joking with you. But I've done that too. It's like the morning of, I'm going, oh my gosh, I got to get this form in. But just actually doing that form makes you think before you get into the call about, what you're working on and what do you want to talk about, so that when you are actually on that call, you are absolutely working on the things that you need to work on. But accountability is you're right. That's where it's at. And the other thing is that when you're especially in a role of an entrepreneur or a leader, you have people who are doing a lot of things for you and supporting you in different ways. The one place that you're not getting support is for yourself personally. And particularly when life or business brings you bumps in the road, things that require you to stretch, things that require you to get out of your comfort zone. We don't grow when things are easy. We grow when things are tough. And to have somebody in your corner supporting you, providing you with accountability, and saying, actually sometimes going, you got this, girl, you got this. It might be uncomfortable, but you're doing what you need to do.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm so sorry because my dogs just went nuts there in the background, but this is a real podcast. So here we are.
I didn't hear
Somebody's
them,
at the door. So that's good. That's good. If somebody's like, what just happened there? Yeah, just the dog. The coaching has literally changed my life. It really has. And since investing in that, and I need people to think about this, it really is a mindset thing too, because I remember being presented with coaching years before I ever actually invested in it. And I was like, that's going to cost me how much?
Mm-hmm.
And it really, truly was a mindset shift of what a beautiful investment. If working on yourself is something that you're working on this year, you cannot look at it like, what is this going to cost me? Like, what is the investment I'm making by having this coach? It's not an inexpensive thing. It's really not. It is an investment in yourself. It is an investment in your future. That's why it's so important that you connect with the person. And that's why I wanted to have that conversation with you. It's a total mindset shift of what's it going to cost me versus I'm investing in something that I know I'm going to, get the return, either personally. You got to stop thinking about everything coming back to you as a monetary value, because ROI is not always in money. Many times it's peace of mind. Many times it's ways to deal with emotions and feelings and things that we've worked through, has really saved my life, and it saved relationships and it saved my business. So it's not just always how much money am I going to make off of this, or what is it going to cost me? Like, some points you need to invest and expect it to come back in a different way than just in your pocket with money. So think about that a lot when you are thinking about hiring a coach as well. I want to shift gears with you a little bit and just have some more fun conversations around running a business. You're an entrepreneur. You built a beautiful business. You were able to sell this business, but that doesn't come without hardship. So I would love for you to share with us, what is one of your proudest moments of being an entrepreneur with that business?
Okay. Interestingly enough, my proudest moment, or I guess I would say chunk of time, came from one of my darkest moments. A really, really big, I'm not going to call this a bump in the road. I'm going to call this a crater in the road. Like, if you weren't careful, you could lose everything into the crater. It was that big. If I go back, I'm going to be revealing my level of maturity here when I give you some years here. But up until 2008 in my business, if you had looked at a graph, a bar graph, you would have seen growth every single year. It's a beautiful thing. Except in the very, very beginning when I started my business, I never took out loans up to that point. I functioned with a $100,000 line of credit on my home. So if things got tight and I needed something, I bought it and I paid myself back. So it was beautiful. Mm-hmm. Things are going great. And in 2008, I hired somebody to run my business, paid big bucks, bought a bunch of computers, server, bought some testing equipment that was really expensive, all good until October of 2008. And it was, if you read the history books, that's when the economy just really took a... It was like somebody turned off the faucet, nobody coming in the door at all. It was quiet, nothing. The only thing coming in the door was bills. So skip forward to February 6th, 2009. Obviously, the fact that I can tell you that very day means that date was significant. Up to this point, October, November, December, January, all the same. Nothing coming in the door except for bills. By this point, my $100,000 line of credit is maxed out. I get a call from my accountant and she says, Mary Lynn, you made a big mistake in your QuickBooks accounting. You have negative $6,500 in your checking account. I had payroll due and my line of credit is maxed out. Mm-hmm. Wow. So you asked me what I did at that point. The first thing that I did was I cried. We're talking ugly cry, like the tears, red face, swollen eyes, holy crap, what am I going to do? My options are like nothing. So then once I had a chance to kind of think about it, I said, okay, as the world would say, I'm stuck. But really, what are my resources? I said, I don't have money, but I do have an accountant. I'm going to talk to my accountant. I have a great staff. I have a great clientele, and some of them are really business savvy. So I said, okay, what do I have control over? What don't I have control over? And, maybe what are some things that I can influence? Mm-hmm. So I called my accountant. He said, not the best time in the whole wide world to do this, but if you sell some stock, it can hold you over for a time. Not a great time, worst time in the world to sell stock. However, it counts as a loss, which will help you when you do your accounting in the spring. Mm-hmm. So I did that. And I talked to my staff, and they were so beautiful. Again, I'm saying you can't do this by yourself. I asked for their help. And one office said, well, we're really slow, so why don't we shut down on Fridays for now, and you don't have to pay us for Fridays. Another person said, I can pitch in and help, and you don't have to pay me for that day. I mean, everybody my whole staff pitched in. And then I reached out to my clients. I had a bunch of business savvy people come to a luncheon, and I said, I'm Mary Lynn. I've got two children. Sorry, let me back up again a second. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm Mary Lynn. As you know, I'm an audiologist, at least I was at that time, and I have 3 children. I have David, I have Paul, and I have audiology hearing care services. And when you have a child who is struggling, what will you do to help that child? So I'm reaching out to you and I'm saying, what suggestions do you have? How can you, what ideas do you have? And oh my gosh, I was flooded with ideas. I had an ex-CEO of a factory, and they created stone. They broke up rock for stone for driveways, etc. And he hooked me up with their human resources person to do hearing screenings for their incoming people. I had another person said, you need to join Rotary. Another person was a principal. He said, what if you donated a sound system? We have a lot of hearing impaired students, and we'll put a big plaque outside the window. Anyway, all kinds of suggestions, and we did them all. I joined Rotary. Another audiologist joined a Rotary in another town. We joined the Chamber of Commerce. We donated a sound system. And guess what? We made it through. And the ironic thing about all of this is that I had somebody offer me money for my business during this time. And I declined because I didn't want to do it when my business was in a bad place. That same individual ended up buying my practice for 4 times that original offer when I sold it 5 years later. So my point in all of that is I couldn't do it alone. I needed people. I had people around me. I reached out to the resources that I have. Had I tried to do that through my own, I probably would be literally in the bottom of that crater that I was mentioning. So that is like the highlight of my history as an entrepreneur, I think.
Oh my gosh. It's such a good story. And thank you for sharing that, because I've been at the crater's edge. Sometimes you just want to jump in and just get it over. So, the fact that you choose to back away from the edge and you choose to keep moving forward is a huge thing. And I think a lot of times with business, people think, I'm at this point in my business. I shouldn't have to deal with this right now. I should be further along. I shouldn't have these problems. Girl, that stuff never goes away. It ebbs and flows. It's like a roller coaster ride. Like, you chose the roller coaster, not the merry-go-round. So buckle up, because it's going to happen. And hearing stories. Yes, hearing stories like this is exactly what women need to hear, because you don't have to do it by yourself. I was on a call with another business coach that I'm working with this year with my team. And yesterday we were talking about that too, because I went through this big management thing of like getting your numbers right in your pricing book and like putting your sales processes together. And I was like, I thought we had our shit together. I literally know nothing after watching this. Like, I have so much work to do. And I told him that, and he said, you know what? I appreciate that, but what's the best way to eat an elephant? And of course, the first thing that comes to mind is like one bite at a time. And he's like, no, you ask for help, because that's impossible. And that's what you've had the courage to do in coming here today. So just even thinking about it in that way, if you can think about life or whatever it is that you're going through in that way of like, sure, we could do this, but it's going to be very slow, or I can ask for help. That doesn't make you look dumb or incompetent or uneducated. It's smart to ask for help. Where are some other areas in your life that you have been like, I got this, I can do this, but you've had to, once you've asked for help, you're like, damn it, why didn't I do that earlier?
Well, I think I shared with you, that when I was going to sell my business, I mulled over that. I think the seed was planted in 2008. And then, when I had that individual make an offer, there was a big seed planted. And I mulled that over and over and over and over again. I mean, literally, I can figure this out. I can make this decision. I couldn't. I really, really couldn't. As I said, I felt like my child was for sale. And that just didn't feel right. And I really could not make that decision without the sort of support of my coach. I'd probably still be mulling it over.
Yeah.
But I really would. She held me accountable to really digging through what I wanted to do and coming up with a decision, because as you know, no decision is ever 100%, ever in life. If we wait until we're 100% sure on anything, we won't ever make a move. So that is another reason to have somebody kind of in your corner to nudge you when you think, well, I kind of think I sort of maybe want to do this, but I don't know. To have somebody go, okay, Tanya, what is it that you need to do? Let's talk this through. And to have somebody give you that nudge and that support. So that was another time. I could not have done it without her. I'm forever grateful.
Yes, you have to get out of your head, and sometimes you just need another set of eyes on it. Like you're saying, it was like putting one of my children up for sale. I would feel like that with my business too, because you put so much work in this thing. You created this thing. It has taken on the personality of you. It has become a part of you, but it's not that way to anybody else but you. And in the grand scheme of things, as much as we don't want to hear it, it's not our baby. And so having someone else come in that doesn't have that emotional attachment to it, that can say, okay, this is what you got to do, this is what you got to do, or this is what you got to look at, and being really honest with them about where you're at is everything. It's so huge. I was listening to a podcast, Ed Milet's new podcast this week. You've got to listen to it. It's him and Brendan Burchard going back and forth about making decisions. The whole thing is about decisiveness, and them talking about what a superpower that is to be able to make good decisions, quick decisions, have someone to call when you need to make a big decision. Like, who would you call if someone said, hey, I'll buy your business from you for X, and you're like, I don't know who should I call? Always make sure that you've got that person that you feel like you can call. And if you don't have that person, you've got to find that person that you can run big decisions through. Because sometimes we just need to get out of our own heads. I think as women, many times we can play all these sides of the fence of is it good for my business? Is it good for my family? Is it good for me? Is it good for, and you just get in that paralyzing fear of making a decision. But you make a decision. You gotta do that in order to grow. I think it's such a huge thing. Choosing not to make a decision is a decision too. Absolutely. Many people like to put their head in the sand and be like, oh, I'm just going to forget about it for a while. But how many times does that ever solve your problems?
Yeah. And never. It's interesting. It's interesting too. And I may not have this book title exactly correct, but there is a book out there with a title similar to this, which is that women are like spaghetti and men are like waffles. And meaning that men are, generally speaking, I would say masculine energy is more, I'm here, then I'm here, then I'm here, then I'm here. And women are like spaghetti. We have 85 things going through our mind at one time. So sometimes when it comes to making a decision, we feel like somebody's got a blender in our head because it's just all flying around all over the place. Obviously this is a woman's podcast and I'm speaking to women. Mm-hmm. I think women more than anybody, need somebody, particularly when you're in a place where you're confused or you need to make a decision. Yeah. Because if you try to figure it out in your head, you're just going to have a big knot, a big mass of spaghetti noodles. So.
Yes. Yes. And I feel that many times women are like, well, I go to my husband for that, or I go to my best friend for that. Sometimes you need an outside person that's not emotionally engaged with you into this too. I know
Mm-hmm.
that you have been that so much for me. As long as we've been working together, I consider you a friend of mine. You know more about me than a lot of people know about me and my emotions and the things that I work with and deal with daily with things. I can't have those same conversations with my husband. I can't. I've tried. And many times women get discouraged because they're like, my husband doesn't listen or he doesn't support me. Find somebody else. And sometimes that requires you to pay someone to be that person for you.
Mm-hmm.
It just does. It's one of the very best investments I have ever made in my life is investing in coaches. And I can't ever think of a time in my life that I would be like, I I don't need this anymore because it's such a part of my life now. And it's such a beam of light for me to be able to think, okay, I have Monday. I'm going to regroup. I'm going to have this conversation with Mary Lynn. I'll start making things throughout the week that's like, hey, I need to have this conversation. Something that I'm working through. I need to have this conversation. So having that is just so, so, so important. So thank you for sharing your story with that as well. Something else I want to touch on a little bit with you because I know that you're huge in the Tony Robbins world. I've been through all of Tony's programs now, at least the bigger ones, and they have forever changed my life. If somebody is thinking this year, like, I really want to work on myself, like, I really want to learn more about myself, I want to, really invest in personal development, where would you tell them to start with that? Because I think many times there's so much out there, like if you get in the Instagram reel wheel, we call it, uh, there's like this person and this person and this person and this person. And now you've got 15 mentors that are trying to tell you things and your head kind of explodes a little bit. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what is the power in focusing with someone that you connect with? And kind of how do they even get started in that?
Can you ask your question a different way? I'm sorry. I was listening and I was kind of, my spaghetti mind was all over the place. So,
Sure. So let's say that people have never attended a Tony Robbins event, a Brendan event, anything, personal development stuff. Okay. But this year, their big goal is to work on themselves and really invest in personal development and see what this world is all about. How would you tell them? What steps would you give them if somebody was to say, this is what my goal is this year? What steps would you tell them to take to start on that journey?
well, I can tell you, I'm going to go off screen for 2 seconds here. My very, very first exposure to Tony Robbins was this book right here.
Mm-hmm.
And interestingly enough, I recommended it to 2 of my friends this week. This is a great book. He wrote it when he was much younger, but it's brilliant. It's a great, if you're a little bit nervous about stepping in and actually talking to someone, that's a great place to start. I will tell you and this group, I am willing to have a one-on-one with anybody that has questions about coaching. And you're welcome, Tanya, to share my information. If somebody just has some questions, no expectations on my part, but just to share and to help give folks some direction. I'm happy to do that. Tony is having, I think, if I forget the title of it, but he's having a free, is it starting? It's next week or the following week. Are you aware, Tanya? It's coming up really soon, which is a free online, I think, 5-day thing. So that's also a possibility.
Yes. Yes, yes. It's like his free, he does like a virtual summit, like in January, end of January, beginning of
Yes,
February. I saw a TikTok
yes.
on, or a TikTok on it yesterday. Time to Rise virtual summit. It's January 25th through the 27th. I'll put the link to that in the show notes too, because this will be coming out before that. So people can sign up for that event. It is an incredible event. If you've never been to, I still watch these, and I've paid thousands of dollars to go to Tony's event, like the big ones. There's so much value if Tony Robbins is on a stage. He doesn't give a shit if it's free or if it's paid content. That man is giving 1,000% of what he has all the time. So even if you can't watch it, which I highly recommend that you do, because Tony Robbins is a physical game as much as it is an emotional and mental thing. But just listening to this man's voice is a life changer. Huge, huge, huge,
Excellent.
huge. So the book that she held up, if you're listening to this instead of watching it, is Awaken the Giant Within. And it is, I have not read that one, actually, to be real honest with you. I need to do
There
that.
you
I've
go.
read the other ones. So we'll put a link to that too in the show notes here. But I remember as a little girl, just on the topic of this, because it is such a huge event. And the fact that this man, like, it's thousands of dollars to go to his seminars and does something for free for you, you should definitely check this out. Definitely check it out. I remember as a little girl, and Tony had the infomercials on TV. And we had like one of those huge satellites, that was like in your backyard type of thing, TVs. And I'd like turn and turn and turn. And I would listen to his infomercials at nighttime. And I had no idea what the hell this man was selling whatsoever, but I was so captivated with the power in his voice. So if you are like that, I think that's like my connection with Ed Milet now too, is just like the powerfulness in these people's voices and the convictions that they have about investing in personal development and what it can do for your life. Definitely take a listen to this, because not only is it Tony, I'm sure he'll have other guests on there, which he always brings on the most brilliant minds you can think of in personal development. It's an incredible opportunity to be exposed to what the Tony Robbins world does offer, and the coaches that are within his program are just absolutely incredible. We've had another coach on here before that is also with the Tony Robbins organization. So I just love the people that work in this organization. They all have such hearts of gold and such, servant hearts that they want to help people just live a better life. Do you feel like coaching has truly allowed you to live a better life?
Oh my gosh, yes. Coaching from being coached, I still have a coach, has allowed me to live a better life. But actually, being a coach and being surrounded by peers who, they're living what they're saying. In other words, they're living their lives to the highest, and so. Yeah, it's a beautiful place to be. I feel blessed every day. There's a group of 4 of us that meet once a week at 6 a.m. on Friday morning. So we met this morning, and just amazing individuals. It's kind of like we sit and have our coffee or tea together, and I'm just thinking, wow, these are amazing humans that I get to be around. And we hold each other accountable as well. One of the ladies in the group is phenomenal with numbers. She presented us a spreadsheet this morning that I would have gone on my own, but she made it make sense. We have another one who is so detail oriented. She would have spouted off to you the title of that program that's happening the end of the month, and would have said the days and the times it started, because that's how she thinks. And then one of the other coaches, she was a trauma counselor before she became a coach. So she's a really beautiful resource when you're dealing with a client that might have some hurts and possibly some baggage and wounds from previous things. So just amazing. It's allows me to do something I love every day and to watch other people grow. It's amazing.
I love that. And thinking about the beginning of the year, who are some women that you could get together with in that little, text group, jumping on a call like Mary Lynn's talking about? There are people in your network, and if you don't have them, go to some events and find these women, because I think many times we try to make our friends or our sisters or whoever's in our lives be those people for us, and they're just not. They're not. My best business friends that I do business with, one's in Georgia, one's in California, one's in Texas, one's in Massachusetts, one's in Connecticut. So we're all over the entire country. But how do you get together and have that accountability group? Even if it's through text messaging, we have one that's a couples thing that is part of, the ultra thing that I'm a part of with Brendan, that there's couples that are in there, and there's 5 couples that are in there, and we get together every other Sunday and we talk about what our progress is with personal growth stuff we're working on. So it can be in multiple things. If you're married and you have a spouse and you want to do something like that, that's been really great for us. But have that ladies group of friends, and it doesn't have to be the ones that you go lunch with or have cocktails with. You can do that over the screen too. It's amazing when you find those women, what a difference that makes in your life. Then you have those people you can call when you need to make the big decisions about stuff. Find those people too that maybe are in wheelhouses that aren't your wheelhouse. So you have something to contribute, and you're actually getting something that you don't already know as well. So this has been such a wonderful conversation, Mary Lynn. I can't even thank you enough for doing this with me. I've been talking to her about doing this for such a long time, and we finally made it happen. So thank you for your time and doing this with us. And at the end of this podcast, I always ask everybody, because it is the inspiration for the book that I'm writing, about everyday women that are out there just doing amazing things, that they're not the big, what you would call influencers on TikTok. They're not the big movie celebrities or famous people. They're everyday women that are out there kicking ass in different ways. So when you hear the phrase ladies kicking ass, what does that mean to you?
To me, ladies kicking ass means it's ladies that are making a positive difference in the world, and being resilient, because life always has bumps and, as I mentioned, craters at times. So being resilient, hanging in there, and tapping into your resources, realizing that you don't have to do this alone. That is a strength. That is your superpower. Women need women. I guess with resilience and resourcefulness, that makes a kicking ass woman.
I love it. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. I am going to link all of your information in the show notes, Mary Lynn. But again, I want to give you a few minutes just to kind of reiterate what they can do if they are interested in coaching at all, or learning more about coaching with you.
Okay. As I shared, Tanya's going to be sharing my information, and I am happy to get on the phone. I do it fairly often, just to relay information about coaching. And even if it's perhaps to give you some direction or to help you with a decision, my goal when I hop on the phone with somebody is that you get something out of that call. So I am happy to do that from my heart with no expectation. So that's what I would say as far as getting in touch with me and what I can offer.
Excellent. Do it. Even if you get to have a conversation with this woman, she will bring something of value to you. I have never gotten off the phone and been like, Wow, I didn't get anything out of that. It's usually a mind-blowing, I need to go sit and journal for a while after what we just talked about. So take advantage of that. This is your first opportunity to use what we've been talking about in this podcast today. You have a resource now. You have a resource that can help you. Whether you decide to move on with that past the phone call or not is totally up to you. But we have given you a resource to help you get started off on the right foot in this new year. And I would challenge all of you to definitely use that resource. Also, definitely check out Tony's program that's going to be going on at the end of January. It's something that you don't want to miss at all. And until next time, keep kicking ass out there, ladies. Thank you, Mary Lynn.
You're welcome.
Thanks for being part of the Ladies Kickin' Ass community. Cheers to all you badass women out there. Keep rocking your power, igniting your fire, and making waves in the service industry. If you loved today's episode, please do me a quick favor. Take a screenshot, post it, and tag us at Ladies Kickin' Ass. Be sure to include the link to your favorite episode. Your support in spreading the word means the world to us as we aim to empower even more women. Hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for more kick-ass episodes. And don't forget, a 5-star review is the ultimate high five. Connect with us on social media. All the links are in the show notes. Thank you for being part of our tribe. Now go kick some serious ass, lady.